All right, motherfuckers. Yet again, another video by your girl's favorite YouTube, The Hater. This is kind of like a remake of a video that I made last night, which was a remake of a video that I made about my NXT review. Both of those videos, for some reason, the audio did not work. I don't know what it was. I've changed nothing on my computer, and I just recorded my SmackDown video, and that seemed to go well. It's uploading as we speak, and I'm sure by the time this video is uploaded, that will have already been uploaded. But nonetheless, this video needs to be uploaded as well. So that's what we're doing right now. In my first video, I talked about the episode of NXT, but since I forgot some of what happened, and I ain't watching that shit again, I'm going to do a roster review of NXT so we can talk about the roster. And in that, I will talk about some of the things that I do remember from this week's episode of NXT. Some of the good things, obviously. I'm sure there's things that will be refreshed in my head as I look through this roster of jobbers. And some good ones, I'm not going to lie. So without further ado, let's start. You can't see this, but I am on the Wikipedia page of a list of WWE personnel, hashtag, or whatever, # NXT, where we're going to look at the NXT rosters in alphabetical order, motherfuckers, because that's how I roll, starting with the male wrestlers. Now, needless to say, some of these male wrestlers could be female wrestlers. Who the fuck knows now? You know, a bunch of effeminate dudes. We got some good, we got some bad, and more importantly, we got some people who have moved up the rankings of the hater based entirely on this week's episode of NXT, which in my opinion was phenomenal, and it was the best wrestling episode, the best wrestling show, I should say, of the week. Now that the week is over, it definitely was, but when I recorded it the first time, we hadn't seen SmackDown yet, so here we are. Now, let's start with the first name on the list. The NXT champion, Adam Cole, baby. Now, Adam Cole is a polarizing guy in my eyes. Back in the day, many years ago, when I was in my early 20s, so about, 8 years ago or so, I went to an indie show, and one of the people that was featured there was Adam Carell, which is now Adam Cole. This was before his ROH run. He was like really young. He must have been like fucking 20 or something. Maybe it wasn't 8 years ago. Whatever. It was a minute ago, right? And Adam Carell or Adam Cole was the mid-card champion at this indie federation, but I don't think he was like there for long. He was just like, I think he wasn't part of the roster. He was just there. And I remember looking at my friend and I'm like, this guy's going to be a star one day. He's going to be going to what's it called? WWE one day, and I was right. I knew he was gonna make it that far just on his look alone. I gotta say it like it is. He's a handsome dude, man. You know, he has very little muscle definition, but he's a pretty guy. You know what I'm saying? No homo. So there we are. But that's pretty much all he's got, because now they put him with the Undisputed Era, which on paper sounds great. The problem is when these guys cut like a 4-man promo, shit hits the fan. These guys, their combined charisma is like 3 out of like 10, right? And all 3 of those points go to Adam Cole, because Bobby Fish, O'Reilly, these guys, like, they're not there to talk, right? They're there to just be there because they're a pretty good tag team, I'm not going to lie. And that's what they bring to the table. Roderick Strong, negative charisma. This guy's atrocious, charisma-wise at least. In the ring, I think he's the best one, but we'll get to him later, fuckers. Adam Cole, he's the one that stands out. That's why he's the leader. But the reality is this. They're running this, what appears to be a pseudo 4 like arrogant jerk-off frat boy types. And the problem is that they're not, like, Roderick Strong is like 35, man. He's like a grown man, and he's like hanging out with these 20-some-year-olds. And Bobby Fish also is like 39 or whatever. And like, it just doesn't fit, man. They come off as cringy. They're not cool. Like they're not naturally cool dudes. Like in my SmackDown video today, I talked about how Otis is a naturally cool dude. If you saw Otis at a bar and you got to see his personality, you'd be like, man, I like to get a shot with this guy. And if you saw Adam Cole and these guys, you'd be like, man, these guys are just a bunch of losers. Like, these guys, like, they're not intimidating. They're not cool. Like, they don't stand out as these, like, cool dudes in the room at all. So that's what I got to say about Adam Cole. I spoke about him a little bit longer than I will about most of the people, just because he's champion and because a lot of people like him. That's my 2 cents. Next up, in alphabetical order, we have Angel Garza, whose real name is Humberto Garza Solano, according to Wikipedia. Not to be confused with Monday Night's #1 star, Humberto Carrillo, which I think is his cousin, because I Googled this guy just to see like if he was actually like the son of Hector Garza, because I remember Hector Garza from TNA. He had like a match or two that I saw, and he was impressive. But no, he's like the nephew or some shit. I actually think Humberto Carrillo is like more related to that. Who the fuck knows, right? Who cares? Angel Garza, he's a jobber. This guy, like, he does a little shtick where he like, I use the word shtick a lot, don't I? He does this little spot when he pulls off his pants. He rips off his pants, and the bi-curious fat beards lose their mind, right? I don't get it. I don't see the appeal, but that's because I'm not gay, I guess. I know that's what you get. I know with indie wrestling, and NXT is like essentially indie wrestling, that's what you get. You get a lot of like weird, confused dudes who see like Finn Balor and they're like, oh, I think I'm gay now for Finn. And a bunch of weirdos. So that's what I gotta say about Angel Garza. Nothing special. Next up, we got Arturo Ruas from Brazil. Also known as Adrian Jaud, which is his real name. I stress this because he made a few appearances as Adrian Jaud. This guy, unless they give him like a gimmick or something, this guy's got nothing going on for him. His current gimmick is that he's a Brazilian MMA fighter. There's too many MMA fighters in wrestling, but he does capoeira and jiu-jitsu, and I mean, he's had a few matches that I remember one. I remember who he wrestled, but I remember one where I'm like, all right, this guy's like, all right, I see like he's not a complete nothing, but nothing special about him either. If it were up to me, he, along with Angel Garza, would get fired. Adam Cole can stick around, see what this guy can do, but definitely not on the top of the list of NXT guys. But Arturo Ruas, there's like maybe a 5% chance there's something there. Unlike the next guy on our list, Boa from China. Fire him immediately. None of these people that you've signed from China or Saudi Arabia have any charisma because they don't understand the medium that is professional wrestling. They just watch a few matches and they're like, oh, it'd be cool for me to beat up a bigger guy using my kung fu. And that's what this guy does. They showed he like jobbed out. There's a memory awakened, motherfuckers. He jobbed out to Killian Dane, and they showed him backstage practicing like martial arts. Just a complete stereotype. There's no need to have this guy on the show whatsoever. At least he's a jobber, right? We can find solace in that. Next up, we have Bobby Fish, one of the tag champs. I spoke about him a little bit when I spoke about Undisputed Era. Nothing special. He is the inferior wrestler and the inferior character when compared to Kyle O'Reilly, who actually does some pretty cool moves. And what the hell is this? Once again. Please forgive me. I guess my other video was finished uploading or whatever, and it started playing. So anyways, Bobby Fish, nothing special. Next up, we have easily one of the worst wrestlers of all time, and I think the worst guy in NXT, Bronson Reed. I hate this guy with a passion because in the NXT 8 jobber tournament they had that was won by ACH or whatever the fuck they call him now, I'm sure he'll be down the list. This guy beat Dexter Lumis, who people may know as Sam Shaw from TNA. This was the wrong choice. You can look at Bronson Reed, who's like a 350-pound Australian with no character, and then look at Dexter Lumis, who is a lean, strong guy. He has sleeve tattoos that are just black. Like his arm is just tattooed black, basically. This guy is awesome. He bleached his hair, grew a pedo stash, looks better than he's ever looked physically, and he has a gimmick. His gimmick is like he's like a serial killer, American Psycho OCD type guy. Obviously, taking some inspiration from Dexter from the popular show Dexter, motherfuckers. The name should be Dexter Lumis. It's a little too obvious, but beyond that, Dexter Lumis was the guy that stood out. During the match with Bronson Reed, the complete jobber, Dexter Lumis had him in like a neck crank or something, and he licked Bronson Reed's face in a very creepy way, and it fit the character, and I loved it because it's actual character work. So that's how I feel about Bronson Reed, and I guess we just talked about Dexter Lumis, who will soon come up on the list. Next up, we have Cameron Grimes, Trevor Lee from TNA. I stopped watching TNA at that point, so I don't know much about this guy. During the tournament, he made it all the way to the finals. He didn't stand out. He just looks ill. He has body hair, which is fine. I think it's important for men to have body hair so they don't look like a bunch of broads. But this guy he's pale. He's scraggly. He's grimy. That's why it's Cameron Grimes. And I didn't like it. But when they reintroduced him to NXT, he was different. He now had like he had this weird hat, like a top hat almost, and he came out to like pseudo country music. So they're kind of going with he's this like country dude, like country strong type guy from like North Carolina, where the fuck he's from. I think he's from Cameron, North Carolina, which Cameron Grimes, come on. His double stomp finisher, standing double stomp, the mushroom stomp, is tight. Kofi Kingston does this move and botches it every single time. This guy does it perfectly, and I dig it as a move. The only problem is that he's squashing people left and right. I mean, I get it. He's squashing jobbers. But in the prospect tournament, or whatever the fuck it was called, he wasn't doing. I don't think so. At least I don't think he was squashing people. So there's that. Next up, we have Cesar Bononi from Brazil as well. This guy's a big guy. We haven't seen much of him. He's in that phase, like when Baron Corbin would first come out as a jobber. He's in that phase. So who knows what they're going to do with him. In my opinion, they should take advantage of the fact that he's Brazilian and team him up with Arturo Ruas, who's also Brazilian, and add Tainara Conchi to the stable as a nice 3-person Brazilian stable. Their gimmick can just be that they're cool. They're just cool Brazilians. So nothing much to say about this guy. Next up, we have Damian Priest, Punishment Martinez. This guy is awesome. Now, I don't like the fact that he's this big-ass dude who should, in my opinion, should have like a Hernandez Cholo type gimmick, and he's saddled with this stupid-ass limousine riding, like, dates models gimmick. He's not, like, handsome enough to be dating models. Like, he's cool, he's got a good physique, and he is, in my opinion, amazing in the ring. He had what I think was one of the, if not the best match of the year, one of the best matches of the year on NXT against Pete Dunne. It was fantastic. I'll talk about that more when we talk about Pete Dunne. I'll just focus on Damian Priest a little bit. This guy, another thing that sucks about him is he does like the crossroads as a finisher, and he does like the South of Heaven, which is a sit-out chokeslam, as a regular move. So that's weird. I don't know why. It should be the other way around. That sit-out chokeslam just looks devastating, and the crossroads looks stupid. So let's move on to another awesome guy, Danny Burch. This guy, they had him on NXT for a long time. They fired him. They brought him back for the UK tournament. They put him on, I think, NXT UK for a little bit, and then they teamed him up with Oney Lorcan. I'll talk about them both. Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan, one of the best tag teams in the world. These guys are amazing. A few weeks ago, they had a match against some random team, and they had this, like, their finish was Oney Lorcan just flexes every muscle in his body in the ring, going nuts, and Danny Burch does it on the outside. It may have been the other way around, but these guys just scream intensity. Their moves are hard-hitting. Oney Lorcan, when he does a running European uppercut against the guy in the corner, it looks like the guy should be dead. Oney Lorcan also has this move where he grabs a guy by the jaw and slaps him like 3 times with the other hand, like knocking sweat off his face. This guy is a beast, and so is Danny Burch. So these guys, in my opinion, should be NXT Tag Team Champions. They're over. You can't be denied. They're over. The fans were chanting 1, 2, which is like their thing. One of them holds up a 1, like one finger. The other one holds up like a peace sign, signifying 2. These guys are amazing. I love them. They had a good match, in my opinion, a very, very good match. Against who did they wrestle though? I know it was a good match, but who did they wrestle? I'm sure we'll get to it eventually. Anyways. Next up, we have Dexter Lumis, which we talked about. Total star. This guy should be pushed. Then we have Dominik Dijakovic. Now, Dominik is awesome. Like, he had wrestled Keith Lee a few times, and the fact that he wrestled Keith Lee again was something that I was not looking forward to, as evidenced by the fact that I started skipping that match on my DVR. But eventually I was like, let's give it a shot, This match was phenomenal. Dominik Dijakovic did a really good job, but the real star here was Keith Lee. Keith Lee, this guy is awesome. he's got a look, man. His face is simultaneously the face of a good guy and the face of this like overconfident guy. It works perfectly. He's built strange, like he's a big guy, but he's, in my opinion, the only big guy ever who moves well for his size. Because every big guy now shouldn't be able to do what they do. Samoa Joe does like one, suicide dive with a little forearm, and Michael Cole's like, oh, no guy that size should be able to do that. Whereas, like, in this match, motherfuckers, Keith Lee, let's talk about Keith Lee. Forget about Dominik Dijakovic. He was good too, but Keith Lee was the star. Keith Lee did a poison rana on Dominik Dijakovic. And more importantly, he did this spot where he was going to suplex Dominik, who's like 6'7", and Dominik was fighting out of it, and he held him. Like, he leaned him against his own body, but he held him for what appeared to be like a minute and a half, teasing this suplex, eventually hitting it. It was amazing. It showed that this guy is super strong, and simultaneously it showed that Dominik Dijakovic has core strength to allow himself to balance like that while Keith Lee manhandles him. Next, we have Fandango. Fandango, like the guy that plays Fandango is decent. This guy's got a good look, good physique. He's decent in the ring, but he was branded Fandango. I was at that WrestleMania, and I knew he was going to beat Jericho. Everyone was shocked for some reason, but I also knew that it was going to lead to absolutely nothing because it's a guy with a dancing gimmick whose name is Fandango. And his sub-gimmick is that he won't wrestle unless someone says his name correctly. How about get a better name, you douche? Like, oh, my name is Fandango. Oh, I'm Rumpelstiltskin. Let's just call him Rumpelstiltskin. I'm Rumpelstiltskin. What's my name? Go fuck yourself. That's your name. Next, we have Finn Balor, who is very similar to Fandango in that he has been demoted to NXT where he belongs because he is a jobber. I am sick of people saying things like Finn Balor is so good in the ring. No, he's not, motherfuckers. People say John Cena has 2 moves. Bullshit. Finn Balor has literally 3 moves. He does the lifting DDT. Sometimes he does it normal. Usually it's like the reverse lifting DDT. He does the sling blade, and that's it. Every other move he has is a kick of some sort. It's either the double foot stomp, like a shotgun drop kick, like a kick to the face, a standing double foot stomp. That's all this guy does is kick people. It's completely unbelievable. He's a small guy, and I understand he can't lift big people up. But no, find better moves. Do DDTs. Do like something athletic. Do a fucking Hurricane Rana or something, right? Another thing about Finn Balor is that when he becomes the Demon, he wrestles the exact same way as he does when he is not Finn Balor. Look like Bray Wyatt. I don't like him anymore, but look at Bray Wyatt and The Fiend. Bray Wyatt, Sister Abigail, completely different like mannerisms, things like that. Not necessarily different mannerisms, but let's compare The Fiend to like the new Bray Wyatt, the children's show Bray Wyatt, who's like this like goofy guy, right? But The Fiend, Bray Wyatt understood that The Fiend cannot do the exact same moves as old Bray Wyatt. He needs a new finisher. That's what a gimmick change must have, is a new finisher or at least a renaming of your finisher or something like that. Finn Balor does the exact same moves, but for some reason, when he puts paint on himself, people are scared of him. He's still 5'0" and about 120 pounds. So it doesn't make any sense to me. Next, we have Isaiah Swerve Scott. Shane Strickland, I believe his name was in the Indies. I never watched this guy in the Indies. I couldn't give a rat's ass about him. He is being saddled with a Rich Swann gimmick. They really don't know how to handle black wrestlers. They really don't. They're all goofballs, and they're all interchangeable. Now, you have Isaiah Scott, who has a dancing gimmick. You had Rich Swann, who has a dancing gimmick. You have, there he is down the list, Jordan Miles, or ACH, who has a smiling gimmick. These are just dudes who, they're the same character, man. Like, what makes these 3 guys any different than Cedric Alexander, or in my opinion, the best one of the bunch, Apollo Crews? What makes these guys any different? You had Apollo Crews. This guy looks like $1 million. He's jacked. He can do flips. He can do power moves. Everyone should like Apollo Crews. But what happens to him? He becomes a jobber. So why the fuck would I believe that if Apollo Crews is going to be rendered into a jobber, that Cedric Alexander, or even worse, Isaiah Swerve Scott, or perhaps Jordan Miles will be anything but jobbers? So in my opinion, release them both. We had a good streak going, guys. Obviously release Boa, Bobby Fish, Bronson Reed, Cameron Grimes, let's keep him for a little bit. Cesar Bononi, keep him. Damian Priest, promote him. Danny Burch, keep. Dexter Lumis, keep. Dominic Dijakovic, keep. Fandango, release. Finn Balor, honestly, release. And now we've gone down the list and people are being released left and right. Isaiah Swerve Scott, release him immediately. Next, Jackson Riker, also known as Gunner from TNA. This guy is amazing. In TNA, he would F5 big dudes. This guy is strong. He's balding, and I don't like when wrestlers start balding and they don't just go bald. Just cut your hair, man. He's got the beard. He's a biker. He's got a gimmick. I like him. Next, Joaquin Wilde, also known as DJZ. Even though this guy is athletic and he was good as DJZ, there is no reason to believe that this will lead to anything as he has no gimmick. I don't know why in this 8-man tournament, the only person with a gimmick was Dexter Lumis, which to me was a signifier that he would win because he's the only guy that anyone can get behind. But that is what it is. Next, we have Johnny Gargano, motherfuckers. Johnny Wrestling. Very overrated. I will say, in the ring, he's good. But the amount of exposure this guy gets is insane. He will win a match, lose 3. Win a match, lose 3, win 3 matches, and then lose the big one. And even if he wins the big one, he loses the next big one. And every time he loses, quote-unquote, the big one, he doesn't appear next week on NXT, and Corey Graves, or whoever the fuck it is on NXT, or Nigel McGuinness, I guess, but I don't even know. That person says, next week, Johnny Gargano will, address his future, right? And the next week, Johnny Gargano comes up, cuts this melancholy promo of my dream was this, and I've achieved it, and it's all thanks to you fans. And then he either teases retiring or teases moving up the roster and does neither. So the first time he did this, all right, fine. But every single time he loses a big match, I have to worry about whether this guy's going to quit or not? No, fuck that. Just quit. Release him immediately. And also, I'm tired of the little promos about his youth and how he was a fat kid. I don't give a rat's ass. Jordan Miles. See what I said about Isaiah Swerve Scott, because I mentioned Jordan Miles, and they're cut from the same cloth, the cloth of jobber. Next, we have Keith Lee. Enough said. Keith Lee, one of the best wrestlers they have on NXT, if not the best wrestler. Killian Dane, fire this guy immediately. They started on him out in his repush, in his rebranding as this the beast of Belfast. He grew up in a war zone, and therefore he's awesome. And then he jobbed to Matt Riddle, and now he's just attacking people randomly. I don't like this guy. Nothing special about him. Then we have Kona Reeves. Now, Kona Reeves, there's something there. I'm not saying this guy's going to be a star, but there's something there. He's trying out a gimmick. After just being a jobber for a while, he's getting his first gimmick run, and I thought it would lead to something. And thus far, it's led to nothing. But keep him around because it might. Kyle O'Reilly, Undisputed Era. He's, I think, better than Bobby Fish, but that's about it. Then we have Kushida. Fire this guy, send him to Japan so he can feud for the IWGP little guy title, whatever the fuck it's called, because this guy has no business being here whatsoever. Let's be honest, man. This guy has no reason to even be on this show. There is no reason to believe that his career will have trajectory any different than Hideo Itami or even Nakamura. Like I said in a previous video, the logical thing to do would be to move him up immediately, unless you fire him, move him up immediately to the roster and have him team up with Tozawa, have them lose a little bit, then simultaneously while that's happening, have Io Shirai move up. She loses a lot. The Kabuki Warriors lose their tag belts. Nakamura loses his IC title. They have a moment of serendipity, and Nakamura, they get Funaki or someone who's Japanese and speaks English, and Funaki says, "What's going on?" Nakamura says, "I'm done with this. Why are my two friends called the Kabuki Warriors? Just because they're Japanese? How about take them seriously, motherfuckers?" And they form a stable of Japanese angry wrestlers who are pissed off that they're being treated as stereotypes and held down because they can't speak. I'm sorry. I thought this was wrestling. I didn't realize that it was a fucking talk show, right? That should be their gimmick. I'd call them the East, but that's me. Look at that. I just booked it better than WWE ever will. Anyways, next, Lio Rush. This guy, everyone hates him backstage apparently. I couldn't give a rat's ass about that. He's a quick wrestler. His look is stupid. He's got all these tattoos. They're dumb. They make him look like a complete idiot. He did a good job as Lashley's manager, but the ceiling for this guy is Cruiserweight Champion, which is a decent ceiling, but nothing really there, especially considering that there's so many better wrestlers than him. Next, we have Mansoor, aka Mustafa Ali. They look exactly the same. They have the same face, the same haircut. They make the same face when they're hurt. They hold their head and their hair, and they're both like excited to be there. Basically, I remember Mansoor from his promo in the first Saudi Arabia show. He's the one that stood out in that promo, but that's about it. This guy, just release him. I get it. You want to have a Saudi Arabian wrestler, so when you go to do Crown Jewel again, this guy wins like a quasi-meaningful match, and the gullible Saudi fans mark out for him. Next, we have Matt Riddle. I never really liked Matt Riddle, but he earned a fan in me after destroying my main nemesis, Bronson Reed, when he hit him with a Bro Derek, which is a sick name for a move, and a pretty good move as well. It's basically a tombstone, like a cradle tombstone hold, and he falls forward. Now, this was impressive because Bronson Reed is about 1,700 pounds, and he picked him up, and he held him there, and he did the move, which I liked. So give Matt Riddle a chance because he can wrestle. He has moves, and he's got him like his gimmick, but at least he's got one, right? Whatever. Pete Dunne. I never really saw it until recently. Pete Dunne is awesome. His match with Damian Priest was amazing. And the reason why it was amazing is because Pete Dunne, even though he's a smaller guy, not just than Damian Priest, but he's just a smaller guy, he wrestles in such a way that it makes sense for a guy like him to occasionally beat a big guy. Because no matter how small you are, he's about 5'7", 5'8". Doesn't matter. If you're a 5'8" guy and you elbow someone in the face, you're going to hurt them. You might knock them out. Right? If you pull someone's fingers apart, that's going to hurt. He does this spot where the opponent is on all fours, and he just does like a double stomp on each of the opponent's hands and then kicks him in the head. And that's awesome. This guy, and he has a good finisher. This guy's awesome. And even though he lost to fucking Damian Priest, it was still cool because he lost with like a semi-screwy finish after Damian Priest kicked him in the nuts. Mauro Ranallo called it the bullseye, which I think was great because it served to protect Pete Dunne as this bigger guy had to cheat to beat him. And it also keeps Damian Priest undefeated. Out of the two, Damian Priest is clearly the one with the more star power, but Pete Dunne cannot be overlooked. Next, we have Raul Mendoza. And contrary to what you motherfuckers might believe, I actually like Raul Mendoza. I think out of the new batch of young Hispanic wrestlers that they got, I think he's the best one. How do you like them apples? I don't like Humberto Carrillo. I don't like Angel Garza. But Raul Mendoza, even though he's a jobber, he's had a lot of very good jobber matches where he has looked strong. So if you're going to push one of them, in my opinion, it should be Raul Mendoza. Take the other two, put masks on them, call them Lucha... home party or lucha house party, like evil or whatever the word is in evil. The word for evil is in Espanol there, and just have them feud against lucha house party. Put them in masks. No one cares. Next, we have Riddick Moss. This guy has been portrayed the few times he's been on TV as this blue chip athlete. He's a big guy. Apparently, he's a strong dude, but he's out because his partner Tino Sabatelli is injured. And that's all you need to know about that. These guys are complete jobbers. No one cares about them. Roderick Strong, not a big fan of Roderick Strong. In the ring, I think he's the best one in Undisputed Era, but he has no charisma, and he's about 35, and there's no need for this guy to be around. Next, Shane Thorne from The Mighty. Shane Thorne, clearly the better one of the two. This guy deserves something. I'm not saying he deserves a push or anything like that. I'm not prepared to make that commitment, but he deserves a chance to show that he can be a single star because I think he can. Now, when I say single star, do I mean an actual draw? Of course not. This guy's a jobber. But in this crowded roster, he's someone that I think is better than a lot of the people that are just like him, but portrayed as if they are better. Next, we have Mr. No Wikipedia, Steve Cutler, who has been with the company for about 17 years and has had about 3 matches on TV. Steve Cutler, along with Wesley Snipes, Wesley Blake, there's no need for these guys to be around. Like, the only logical conclusion to the Forgotten Sons is one day Jackson Riker gets mad at their inferiority and just beats them up, and he can go on and get a push. Maybe fight like a Keith Lee. That'd be amazing, I think. I would even be okay with him going over Keith Lee, who I like a lot. Next, we have Tino Sabatelli. We just talked about him. He's always injured. I don't care about him at all. He's got a good look. He's in good shape. He's a handsome guy, but I don't see anything there. So, I mean, maybe, but and maybe he might have some charisma. We haven't heard much of him, so that's what I gotta say about that. Tommaso Ciampa does stand out. He's got a good look. He's definitely juicing up a little bit because he looks fucking jacked. The only criticism I have is because he does what I'm assuming are steroids, this guy is always getting injured. He comes back for 3 months and then is gone for about a year. Or they say he's going to be gone for about a year. He comes back in 9 months and they're like, wow, how resilient. Resilient. This guy's always injured. Why the, like, I honestly, when he had his match, he had a match, he had his return match. I forget who he wrestled. It doesn't matter. I think he wrestled maybe Angel Garza. I could be wrong. And it was stupid. He beat him with like the Willow's Bell or whatever, which is like his draping DDT. I prefer the fairy tale ending better, but I couldn't get invested because I thought to myself, man, all right, he's going to win this match, but what if tomorrow he, I don't know, wrestles Bronson Reed and dies or gets injured again? So it is what it is. Then we have Tyler Breeze. Tyler Breeze, same exact thing as Fandango. These guys, all right, give them a chance because they're shifting their gimmick into a more serious one. So we'll see what that happens. But honestly, it's clearly failed. Release him. And then I'm going to skip one guy because he's the best one. And I'm going to just talk a little bit about Wesley Blake. And we're done talking about Wesley Blake. Same thing as the other one, Steve Cutler. Next and last, and certainly not least, in my opinion, best, most, is Velveteen Dream. This guy is the bona fide, undisputed future of this company. He looks like $1 million. He's a young kid. He's jacked. He is extremely charismatic. He does good moves. I mean, what can this guy not do, right? This guy is a star. If they push him the right way, the only logical conclusion for him is that he has a WrestleMania match down the line after he's a multiple-time champion versus John Cena when John Cena is about 50 or something like that. And he beats Cena clean, as he should. This guy, the only way to introduce him appropriately is this. He destroys the Undisputed Era, and eventually, after WrestleMania, maybe around May, moves up to the main roster, starts winning, losing, wins the Rumble. That's right, motherfuckers. Wins the Rumble, and main events WrestleMania on his first year. This guy is something special, man. Shawn Michaels said this guy's going to be a champion one day. No doubt about it. Next, female wrestlers. Aaliyah. All right, she's got a nice body. She's got a decent face. She's got a gimmick. You know, she plays this like bougie, like better than you girl, but it's sexy, so I dig it. She's cool. I'd keep her. Bianca Belair. Nothing more to say about her. She's awesome. This girl's a star. She's got charisma. She has the hair whip move, which is unique. So I would definitely keep her. And in my opinion, she should be the champion. Candice LeRae. I mean, I respect the fact that she'd wrestle dudes and take super kicks from the Young Bucks. But in NXT, she's done nothing, so I don't care. Dakota Kai, release her immediately. They should have released her when she got injured, whatever the fuck she's been. There's no need to have her at all. Deonna Purrazzo, don't know who the fuck that is, motherfuckers. Release her too. Io Shirai has a sexiness to her. I dig her. I would put her in the stable with the Japanese wrestlers. But if you must go with her alone, keep her as like a mid-card woman. Then we have Jessamine Duke, released immediately. She sucks completely. I don't like her at all. Casey Catanzaro from American Ninja Warrior, fuckers. This girl is awesome. She's super athletic, right? She actually is athletic. And she's gorgeous, which I think is very important. And she's a little small. She's petite, but to me, it accentuates her sexiness. So that's how I feel about that. Marina Shafir, which is Roderick Strong's wife, fire her immediately. Marina Shafir, Jessamine Duke, and Shayna Baszler have this MMA gimmick. Problem with that is this. In one of her vignettes, Shayna Baszler said, well, at one point, I was ranked top 10 in MMA. Yeah, bitch, you were. You were ranked number 9 when there were 10 women doing it. She was always a jobber. No one ever took her seriously in MMA. So that's what I got to say about that. But I will say that since we skipped one after Marina Shafir, Shayna Baszler has been a great champion. And in my opinion, one of the best female wrestlers that they have. She's been booked the strongest ever. Stronger than Asuka, motherfuckers. And here's why. Asuka was booked strong only to have it conclude with her jobbing to Charlotte as she should have. Charlotte is the real star. There's no reason why she should be jobbing to this transitional, like, flash in the pan wrestler. Whereas Shayna Baszler is not going to be built like that. She's going to come in and destroy people in the main roster when and if she does. We skipped ahead because I started talking about the horse-faced women, but we have Mia Yim. Mia Yim, in another day, she would be a decent wrestler. But here, they got some better ones, you know, I got to say. Bianca Belair, Shayna Baszler, in my opinion, Aaliyah, Io Shirai, they're all better than Mia Yim. But a 5th place finish isn't too bad. Except she's not 5th place, motherfuckers, because next up on the list, we have Tainara Conchi from Brazil. This girl is gorgeous. She's apparently a legit badass. She's beautiful. She's got a booty. I like her. Push her, eventually make her champion. Next, we have Tegan Knox, who was making her return this week. Problem with that was, I'm assuming that she's in NXT UK because I've never heard of this broad before. Who the fuck is Tegan Knox? I don't give a rat's ass about Tegan Knox. So fire her for that reason alone. Also, she's exactly the same as her partner or whatever, Dakota Kai. These two like tiny girls who have no charisma and like no talent whatsoever. Just fire them. Next, Vanessa Bourne. She hangs out with Aaliyah. Aaliyah is better than her. Fire Vanessa Bourne. And last and clearly least, like, I mean, maybe Deonna Purrazzo was worse, but Xia Li from China. I mean, come on. You know, this girl was a jobber for a long time. She won, I think, her first match a few weeks ago, and this is going nowhere. This has like fucking Kabuki Warriors written all over it. They do not know how to handle foreign talent at all. And last, this concludes it for the wrestlers. But there's one more name we must mention, motherfuckers, and that's William Regal, the general manager of NXT. William Regal, absolute legend. Not because he's great in the ring like Daniel Bryan, who gives a shit about that. He's a legend because of his sadistic character and gimmick and his very memorable moments in WWE as the man's man and as William Regal, the commissioner, and especially his vignettes with Tajiri. By the way, motherfuckers, Tajiri, better than every Japanese wrestler that they have right now combined. That's right, fuckers. Tajiri had real charisma, fun moves, and did the mist. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on NXT. Not a bad outlook. You know, I think this is the best roster NXT's had in a very long time, if not ever. Now, that's part of that is in hindsight because, you know, we have people like Bobby Roode who never like materialized into anything, and Nakamura and Finn Balor who pretty much like they were flash in the pans. Nothing really happened there. So maybe since the time when they had Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose in FCW, which I didn't watch, of course, since then, this is the best roster they've had. So good job for NXT for putting on the best show of the week. But let's see if they keep it going. These Wednesday night wars are actually turning out to be kind of entertaining. It's making me watch wrestling again, you know? Like, I actually watch AEW, and then this week I decided to watch NXT because I had accidentally DVR'd it. I didn't DVR AEW, but I caught the next show because they do 2 in a row. Anyways, motherfuckers, that's the video. Whether you liked it or hated it, I'm glad you watched it. Now go fuck yourselves.